Hey everyone. Welcome to the dark and gloomy days of January. So I just wanted to check in about artist life 5 days into a new year. And it's been a little rocky, I'm not gonna lie. I had a cold at the beginning of December. It sort of went away and I was feeling better, but there was a cough that, like a kind of persistent cough that was just there. Nothing too overwhelming though. And then last week, the cough part of the cold just came back with a vengeance. And so I've been experiencing for the last 5 days crazy coughing fits that I found quite debilitating and frustrating. And it has really thrown a wrench into what I was hoping to be a really strong start to the year. Obviously, we're only 5 days in, and I'm trying not to get too much in my head about this. There's like a whole year ahead to be productive and do all those things. But it is frustrating. I don't tend to get sick very often. And when I do get sick, it's usually quite mild. And so every few years, every 3 or 4 years, I'll get like something that kind of kicks me down. And I'm very bad at accepting that. I do try to rest. I do take it easy, which is what I've been doing this week. I've still been doing a lot of admin and things like that. But in terms of making art, which is what I was primarily wanting to do, I haven't been. The other thing is my kids have been home from school because it's they go back to school on Monday, and my husband was home working from home several of those days as well. So whenever there's a lot of people in the house, it's just not conducive to me getting a lot of work done because it requires a lot of moving of people and making sure that the space is not being dominated by one thing or another. So yeah, so that's where I am. I did finish my little memory keeper piece for this year. I will put a picture here. This is Rado. This is a rune, which is a Norse divination system. And Rado is about opening up to journeys and relationships. And so I thought it would be a good symbol for me for the year to remind myself about the journey of this process. And I've been writing out my goals for the year, for my artistic goals, and working on those and trying to be really, really as precise with them as possible, because I don't want to have anything vague that is so easily interpreted multiple different ways, and then I'll just kind of not be able to hang on to it and to make it happen. So I try to be really specific, and I also am trying to be really realistic about time and about what I can actually accomplish in a year. So that's the other thing. And I have a lot coming up. I have some big things next week. And so I don't feel prepared, but I know that today I'm really feeling like I've turned a corner on this cough, and if I can just take it easy and make sure that I've really resolved whatever the issue is, then I feel like I can go into next week with lots of energy, hopefully energy, and get all the things I need to organized for basically my first studio visit. So this is a big deal. And my first curator studio visit. Yeah. So I will check in again when I have more to share about this crazy beginning to 2024. Happy New Year. Hello, everybody. The light is not great right now, but this is coming along. I've almost finished the hand quilting portion in three quarters. So opposite this way, all the way across the bottom, and then so I just have this portion here to do over the weekend. I'm going to try to get it done over the weekend because I want to do some machine work on it, and I want to do that next week. So what is happening? There's a lot of things happening. I have had phone calls today about my clocking in for unpaid labor, the first workshop. We have 2 scheduled workshops right now. The first one is on February 2nd. The second one is the first one's on February 4th. The next one is on March 2nd. So we're working out those details. And I'm also starting a very little part-time job, just with some help for content creation for Artist Mother Network, which is really a privilege because it is a podcast I've listened to. Artist Mother Podcast. I've listened to that podcast, all of the episodes, and it's very inspiring. And so it's really great to be able to help out with the network, with Thrive Together Network, and also with the art podcast. And I'm also starting out the Little River pieces that I am going to be working on during February for the Thrive Together virtual residency. So those, I cut out all the shapes today, and I've got the first one sandwiched up because I'd like to do a little bit of filming over the weekend using using a piece that I will be working on for that. So I'm just trying to get that kind of ready to go and in alignment. And yeah, it's Friday. This week has been rather bizarre because we've had crazy amounts of snow. You can see the snow here. It's actually quite melted now, but we got a huge dump of snow, and that really shuts the city down. But we kind of had to go out in it because we had appointments that couldn't be put off. So that was a little bit stressful, but you know, it is what it is. This is what it is to live in a place with snow. And then the other thing that's happening is I'm going to go see a studio next week. I whisper that because I really wasn't expecting to get to this stage right now. But it's kind of one of those things where when you put things out to the universe, the universe kind of talks to you or something, I think. So I've talked to many different friends, artist friends, about, wanting a studio, thinking about a studio space, how to, when that will happen, how it will manifest, that type of thing. And a friend of a friend, an artist friend of an artist friend, is looking to potentially share their studio. And so I'm going to go next week. I'm going to check it out. I don't know if this is the right studio for me. I don't know if the money is there certainly isn't right now money coming in that's going to be covering this cost, which is my ultimate goal, is to cover the cost of a rental space, because I don't want to take money from our family pool and use it towards a studio space rental. I want to be able to cover that cost myself with my artistic practice. So that is my goal, but ultimately there's also a lot of things that I can do to try out. I can try out the space, I can try out the scenario, I can see if it's working. It's not something that's set in stone. If I take the space for a year, if I agree to take the space for a year, and then at the end of the year I can reassess, how it's working, if I like it, if the commute is too much, because it's about a 25-minute commute, which is more than I was hoping for, something closer to like 15 to 20 minutes instead of like 25 to 30 minutes. But there's a lot of great opportunities about having a studio in this area of the city. It's in East Vancouver, and they have a really huge art crawl in November every year. And it's a huge opportunity to be part of this really big network of artists who show their work over this course of this weekend. So yeah, it feels like a good opportunity, but I also am just going to go and see the space, chat with the artist, make sure we get along. I think there's a lot of things about sharing a studio space that, you really have to be careful about. Like, do you like this person? Do you get along well? Do you have quirks or quarks that are gonna like annoy each other? Like, all these types of things have to be kind of thought about, dealt with, worked through when you're thinking about sharing a space. So that is where I am right now. It's busy in a good way. I feel like I'm accomplishing things. I feel like my system thus far for organizing my time is working fairly well. So I'm happy, and I'm just going to keep puttering along here and adjust as needed to things as they need to change. So at about just a little bit over halfway through the month, I feel like January is going pretty well. All right, I will check in again with you later. Hi everyone. I'm working downstairs in the storage room today. Not aesthetically lovely, but practical for the situation. Dave is working from home today, and I needed to use my sewing machine. And sometimes I set it up upstairs, and then he will let me know when I can use it, and when he's on a meeting I just stop using it. But I didn't want to be constrained today by his timing. I wanted to be able to work on my own timing. So what I'm working on today is not exactly what I was planning to work on, but these two little pieces, this one I just did in January, this one I did in 2021, and this was actually part of a traveling show where other textile artists were touching the work and holding it, and so it was all about texture. So when I made this, I used quite a few different textures in it, and I called it Turbulent Indigo, which is a Joni Mitchell song, but also obviously a color reference. And as I was deciding that I should, put binding on this, because it had been mounted onto cardstock or mounted onto a foam board for display. So I wanted to take it off that and make it into a real quilt again. I realized that I could take this one that I had just done, which I'm holding upside down, and reference color too, because I was listening at the time to a song called Silver Lining. And you can't really tell in this light, but this paint here is silver. So I called it Silver Lining, and then I thought, oh, wouldn't it be fun to just kind of slowly accumulate a group of work that is all referencing colors, but is all titled after songs that reference colors. So this is just a little side project that I thought would be really fun to do, because when I'm working on the larger pieces, and I'm just working on the binding on this one right as I'm chatting to you, when I'm working on larger pieces, I'm often in different stages where I don't have anything to sit and sew in the evening, or to just keep my hands busy in handwork. And I think for me, because my work is so much about making and the process of making, and that the side effects of that, which is this kind of calming, very specific feeling that I get when I'm stitching or sewing edges on by hand, is that I want to always have something like this on the go as much as possible. And so, in between other pieces, I will work on little things like this. This fabric here was the base with these shapes appliqued onto them. And I created this like years ago. It's just been sitting in my stash. It was the start of a piece that I thought I was going to make, and then I changed my mind and moved on to something else at the time. And I thought, when I was going through all my fabrics and going through, things that I had upstairs, which are kind of like UFOs, unfinished objects, I decided, it'd be good to just put some paint on that, put some stitching on it, and finish up a little piece. And so that's what I did. And so it's a pretty satisfying process to do these littler pieces. I don't have a set outcome for these. They, I think, are pretty affordable for people to purchase, and also, have on display in a kind of, so people could purchase if they wanted a piece of my work. These are, a lot more, I can produce them quicker, and therefore I can have a lower price point on them. And so that's kind of my motivation for doing these, but also just to have some little things that I'm producing. And so I think it'll be fun to see where this goes, how many of these I make, if I actually even keep them around that long, or if they sell, or if I just have them, infinitely, and in the end they could be this little color study, or a little color display that could be set up in future. So, and then the other thing I have is my soft monument piece over here. I need to change the thread in here to black thread, and then I'm going to do some machine quilting on this piece. And then on Sunday, I've got the studio space in the community building rented out, and I will be finishing up this piece. So I have a lot of different feelings about this piece. I don't feel like it turned out exactly how I expected. I was kind of pushing myself with the materials. I don't know if I've already told you this. So, you know, I have kind of, I'm a little bit ambivalent about it right now, but it is what it is. It's almost done. I don't think I can do anything to it at this point that's going to change the way I feel about it. So I just want to get it finished and then move on to the next piece. And it will end up being either something that ends up being used or something that is just turns out to not be a successful piece. They can't all be successful. They can't all spark the same response in you if they didn't work out correctly. But I also find when I make pieces like this that sometimes it's better for me to have some distance from them, because I've been living with this one since July. Even earlier than July. July is when I really got going on it. So I was working on it off and on for a few months before then. And I just feel like it's not, it was something I had to make to get through the process. And I think everyone has pieces like that they just need to make to get through the process. So, yeah. Otherwise, I think that's it for my update for today. I'm just sewing away until about 3 when I'm going to go to my son's school and watch his basketball game. And yeah, that's it for the check-in for now. Good morning. It's just barely still morning. I did not make it out here to the studio at the time I thought I would. It is 10:42. I'm just getting things set up now. I only have today in here. I had to wipe down the tables when I came in because they were kind of gross. And if anyone's like, oh, one day it's not really worth it to do all that work to set it up, well, this is kind of the situation that I'm in right now, where my working time is very fragmented. I don't have a set space. And so if I want to work, I have to push myself through those feelings of it's not worth it to set that up for that little time and just do it anyway. So that's what I'm doing right now. I need to put the binding facing onto this piece. This piece has not turned out the way I wanted it to. I feel now that I really need a break from it because I've been working on it off and on since July, and trying really hard to get it to where I wanted it to be, and realizing that my choice of medium to do this was not, it's not capable of giving me the results that I wanted. And so I think for me, when I get to this point with a piece, I need to step away from it for a while, not look at it, not think about it, and give it some space. And then hopefully in the future, I can go back to it and feel like it's not as bad as I thought and kind of resolve it in my brain. It may never get there. It may stay a piece that was an idea that didn't work out, and that's okay, because it's taken me somewhere. It's pushed my boundaries in terms of what I was creating and how I was creating. And if it never resolves and I never feel like it's good enough to show, then that's okay. You know, that's kind of part of the process. And because my pieces take such a long time, I don't usually have this happen because I usually resolve the issues as I'm going and get to a point where I'm happy with it and I want to show it. So I don't know if that's going to happen with this piece. And it always feels like when you've put as many hours into a piece as I've put into that it should be good and it should be, you know, be the piece that I want it to be, but that's just not how it happens sometimes. So I'm gonna resolve it today to the point where I can put it away and not think about it. But it's okay. It is what it is. I'm trying to just accept it and let it go because I can't, like at this point, I could start over, but what benefit would that have right now for me? The imagery has been resolved in my mind enough that I'm not gonna make another piece of the same thing. I'm gonna count it up to being a piece that just didn't work out. So it's a hard pill to swallow, but it is what it is. And so I'm gonna resolve that today. I'm gonna do some painting on these little river pieces that I'm making for my art studio tour in May. So those are gonna be just some free form, really abstract lines with paint that I'm then gonna stitch over later. I'm gonna do some admin work. You can see all my books over there. I'm gonna be setting up February in my studio planner. I'm gonna be filling out a form because I have to drop a piece off on Monday. I'm going to be writing a letter to a friend who has a question that I need to answer for him. And just do some ironing, just do some puttering. Yeah, it's pretty relaxed and it's pretty, I'm just gonna go with it today. So hopefully I'll take enough footage for you. I don't know. I'm not gonna promise you I'm gonna take a lot of footage, but I will hopefully check in at the end of the day and let you know what I got up to, regardless of how much footage I get now. Hey everyone, so it is 2:30 now and I've managed to get the facing sewn onto the piece that I wanted to do, and I've also done the painting. It's actually super cold in here. The building's heating is not working properly. I don't know if I told you that earlier. So when I was moving around, it was fine, but now that I've been sitting and working, I'm getting quite cold. So I've got a blanket and an extra layer on and stuff, just trying to keep warm. I do want to try to do a bit more in here before I head back. I did some painting as well, which I don't think is going to dry properly in here because of the temperature. So I'm going to have to transport that back home and set it up so that it can dry properly in the storage space. That is where I keep most of my art stuff is in the storage space. So I'm gonna make myself some more tea to warm up my hands. I'm gonna get to work on this stuff over here at this table now, which is a lot of admin stuff. I need to fill out forms and prepare my studio planner and write a little card and things like that. So I'm gonna do that work now. So yeah, that's where I am at this point. Hey everyone, it's the last day of the month, so I just wanted to wrap up this studio vlog here. What is going on? It is, things are good. Things are good today. I think that this process of learning how to do this job full-time, how to do this life like this full-time has progressed well in January. I feel like in a lot of ways I've made more progress this month than I had in like the last 2 or 3 years. I'm sure that's not actually the case. It's just that the time I've been able to spend focusing my brain on certain things, certain energy, certain prioritizing. I think it was really hard before to prioritize what was going on in my art career because I always had to prioritize my job and my family first. So the art career was always the third thing. And when I was trying to prioritize, okay, which opportunities are the most important to put energy and time into, which art shows should I go to, which people should I reach out to, there was always, I always felt this kind of this frustration, not a frustration, but more like a confusion, just not understanding where to put my energy. Should I be making work because I don't get any time to make work? Should I be going to art openings because I don't get to go to art, I don't go to enough art openings? Should I be building my network? Should I be, all of these things were just constantly going in my head and I wasn't able to prioritize them very well. And so what January has shown me is that there's more space to prioritize things, and I can look at things and I can say, okay, I was able to accomplish these 5 things this month. And now looking ahead at the next month, what needs to be followed up on, what needs to be continued from that, and what should I shift? And so what's shifting for me in February is that the Thrive Together Network is having their virtual art residency, which I have participated in before, probably every time they've done it. And I'm going to be prioritizing making in February. So that is hard for me because there's still opportunities coming up. There's still things that I need to do. There's still these different types of gatherings, people who I've reached out to who want to have a meeting, like different things like this. So now what I have to do is make sure that I'm not prioritizing those things, but prioritizing the making. And I'm going to do a lot of making in February. That is my goal. And I'm only going to do the most high priority things. So I'm not going to go to art openings. I'm not going to do as much admin. I'm not going to apply for any artist residencies or exhibits in February because that takes a lot of mental energy and a lot of time to write those applications and to get them in and to, so I'm prioritizing my art writing practice, like establishing an art writing practice, which will go along with the 100-day project, which starts February 18th. And then I'm prioritizing making. I have a commitment on Sunday for a workshop. And then I have another workshop at the beginning of March. So I probably will have to do a little bit of prioritizing for that. And then I have a couple of things that I have to decide if I'm going to attend art shows or not. Probably going to be a no on that, but then there's some other opportunities to for community building. So I'm going to be a little bit more relaxed about those things because I can decide kind of last minute on them. Some of them don't require pre-registration or anything like that. And yeah, but February is about making for me. So I'm going to be making a lot in February. And I'm still gonna, along with that, maintaining my exercise routine, which I feel like I've gotten a good handle on in January. I've gotten a good established routine for exercise, and I want to continue that. I don't want that to fall by the wayside at all. That has to be a high priority all the time because I've understood now how much the exercise affects my mental health and my energy levels. And if I don't have the mental health and the energy levels, then I don't feel like making anything. And that's a problem, right? It all feeds each other. And so as frustrating as it is to know that I'm taking these extra hours out of time I could be making, I know that in the long run, I'm gonna be able to sustain more time making and making more because I have the energy and because my body is strong and because my body can do stuff. And hopefully, fingers crossed, my body is done being sick for this cold flu season. That would be nice. Who knows if that's the truth? I shouldn't have said it out loud. But yeah, maintaining health is so important, especially as we age and as our bodies change. Our bodies are changing all the time, but this time especially, I find I really need to prioritize it, and I'm trying to do that. So that is where I am at the end of January 2024 with my art practice, and I hope that you've enjoyed this vlog, and I will see you again in February with all the making all the time.